I've sat and I've done thousands of job interviews, and I see the same mistakes that people do over and over again. At one point, I did one of the most impossible things to do, which was to do 3,000 plus job interviews in 4 months. I probably average, I think, around 35 interviews per day in about 3 months for a BPO that I used to work for back in the day. I've also passed a lot of job interviews wherein I wasn't the most qualified for the position. There was a lot of times wherein I was, for example, a level C, but I applied for a level B and I got the job. How? Not always, but I did get those jobs wherein technically I wasn't qualified to get them, but then I made my way towards that. I'm gonna tell you a few tips and tricks on how you can get that job interview, but I want to say, do not make the same mistakes that these people have done. I'm gonna share with you probably about 8 to 9 interview tips to make you stand out from the crowd, because that's all there is to it. When someone says, tell me a time wherein you did this, I'll tell you what it actually means. So if you're ready, let's do this. So you got the interview, all right? Now breathe. I'm sure some of you will get anxiety towards this, but companies won't interview you if they don't see the potential in you or the possibility of you bringing your talents to that company. So you need to bring your best game and focus on what you can control. So the first interview tip I want to share with you is to research about the company. A lot of people go into job interviews not knowing what the job entails or what the company is about, right? So research about the company. You need to know at least some information about that company and learn more about the open position that you are applying. Most people don't even know what position they're applying. All they know is they want a job. That's not gonna cut it, right? So prepare for technical questions if it is relevant for you. Just a disclaimer, not everything here applies to you. If you're applying for, a startup position, you may not need to know some of these information. But for some very technical positions in a company, for example, a management position, you need to know these important things, or else you won't get the job, or you won't get that edge that you need to get you that job position that you exactly want. Number 2 tip that you need to know is you need to prepare your stories. I'm not saying just make up some stories, right? But you need specific stories for specific questions. It's like, you're like a Miss Universe candidate. Each and every question, you need a specific answer for that. You want to structure your prepared stories on how you behave in certain scenarios. Here's a tip. When you hear the words, tell me about a time or give me an example, the interviewer is expecting what we call a STAR. An STAR answer. What is a STAR? So this is something I read from a book back then when I was applying for a supervisor position, which I wasn't not even close to being qualified for, but I got the position. A STAR is, number 1, S is for a situation. So give a background of a situation or problem. T is for a task. What was your role in it? A stands for action, which means what you did and why you did it. And R is the result. So what is the outcome, or what are the outcomes, and what did you learn from it? Let's go through an example, shall we? Tell me a time wherein you performed well under enormous pressure. I'm sure you would be asked that question by an interviewer in one of your interviews, right? So tell me a time wherein you performed very well under enormous pressure. S starts with, my coworker had an emergency and he or she had to leave and needed to miss time at work. So that's a problem. T is for the task. So you were instructed to take on his or her project with a deadline in a few days. So now you have to take over that position. And A is the action that you delegated your weekly task to allow you to focus on this one. So you were able to multitask, for example. And R is the result. So the result is this allowed you to finish it on time with 100% accuracy, right? So that's a STAR, okay? So that's an example. So this is something you need to practice on your own, maybe facing a friend of yours or someone at your house, or maybe just in front of a mirror. Number 3 tip that you need to know is you need to prepare stories for these. Number 1, stories that you did for teamwork. Number 2, stories that you did to show that you are a leader or leadership. Number 3, stories about you handling specific conflicts, right? And number 4, story about you solving a specific problem. Here's a tip. So before you start your STAR story, remember the STAR that I told you a while ago? So define what the skill means to you. If you're asked this question, define what leadership means to you and start with your star story. Number 4 is to prepare for a mock interview, right? You always want to practice your mock interviews when you're being asked questions. Why? Because it makes you prepared, right? For the questions that you may be possibly asked, right? Which are easy questions and then there are difficult questions. So you prepare for those difficult questions. So do a few mock-up interviews with a friend or just in front of a mirror to build your confidence, right? There's an app in Google wherein you can practice now. There's an AI tool. I think I'll share a link in the description, perhaps it with grow.google. It's like questions that you can ask and then you can answer yourself. You can find that in Google. Number 5 tip, and I think this is something that's very important, to be professional. What does it mean to be professional in a job interview? Interviewers are human also. They're not machines, right? They judge people by appearance as well. I mean, people are going to be judgmental on how you look, how you talk, how you respond, and everything. So sit up straight, be enthusiastic, right? Sound not excited, but enthusiastic about the job interview. It's as if you really want it, right? Show that you're enthusiastic about getting this position. Make eye contact. I always say, look at the person between their eyebrows. Do not look at them straight in the eye because it's kind of intimidating at times, right? And do not look at them at their lips. Why? Because it may seem that you're flirting with them. Of course, it's common that you have to dress appropriately, right? So if you're a guy, wear something with collar. If you're a girl, don't wear something too revealing or too distracting, right? Bring a notepad to make you look that you're organized, right? Don't show your phones as well, right? When you're doing an interview, don't show your phone like it's facing you. Hide your phone, keep it on silent. It's very important that you do not give an interviewer a reason to be distracted, and you as well. So just because it's a video conference call or a video interview doesn't mean that the rules have changed as well. It's the same thing. I mean, you have to dress well from the top, right? Even if you're just wearing boxer shorts or something at home, at least your top part, you're dressed like you're going to work, okay? Don't forget that. Number 6, and this is very important. You know, when you're selling yourself, it's very important that you're able to sell yourself in the first 5 minutes of an interview. Usually in the first 5 minutes, I already know if I'm hiring this person or not. Easily. Sometimes even in the first 2 minutes. It's very critical whether the candidate is suitable for the position or look for reasons that I can confirm that this person is right for this position, right? There are a few key signs that I know that the person is right for the position. Smile and look at the interviewer between their eyebrows and start with a positive comment like, I am looking forward to this meeting with you. So those are important things that that you should acknowledge with your interviewer. Tip number 7, tell me about yourself means sell yourself. Like, the thing with Wolf of Wall Street, sell me this pen. When you're asked the question, tell me something about yourself, it means sell yourself to me. Sell yourself and your skills to me and what can you do for us, right? It includes your skills, what are you good at, your accomplishments, what have you done the past few years or past few months with your current job, and why you are the best for this position without sounding like you are being interviewed in a Miss Universe pageant, right? So another tip is to always use I, or me. Don't use we unless you're doing something for a team, right? If you're doing a team interview, which is very rare, all right? So always answer with I, me, because it's always about you in this interview. It's the highlight of the entire interview. You are the highlight of the interview. Tip number 8 is to listen to the questions for keywords and have appropriate answers for it, okay? So being responsible, for example, equals to leadership. And conflict means being able to handle pressure, right? So those are keywords like collaboration, right? It means that you are good in communication. And tell me a time when you solved a problem. It means that you have critical thinking and you have the power of persuasion, right? Those are important keywords that you need to hear. And it has to translate into something right away. Responsible, conflict, collaboration, and solving a problem. So that entails a specific answer. Don't forget that. Listen to keywords. Pay attention to those because those are the answers that we're looking for as an interviewer. Lastly, number 9, you have to ask intelligent questions as well, right? Do not skip this opportunity to ask about an important question. It shows your interest about the position. When I ask an applicant, do you have any more questions or do you have any questions for me? It means that I want to see how intellectual this person is based on what question they will ask me, right? I want to know if this person is really interested based on the question that they will ask me. So when they say, so far I have no questions, it means sometimes that you're being too arrogant if you don't have any questions. At least have a good good question in mind. Like, what are the times for this job, or what other KPIs do you need from this position, and so on and so forth. At least ask one question, even if you kind of know the answer already. But more importantly, you also need to find out if this job is right for you. All right? It's not always what you can do for the company. It's what the company can do for your well-being, for your growth, for your personal development as well. It's not a one-way relationship. It's an employee and employer relationship that has to be nurtured over time. It means that even if the person applies for the position, gets the position, he or she also wants to grow. So you need to know if this place is conducive for your personal growth as well. Not just salary. Salaries will be, a dime a dozen. You can get the salary you want in any workplace. But the thing is, will you grow in this position? So you need to ask yourself, you need to ask that question specifically to your interview. There's nothing wrong with asking your interviewer a question. It's not being arrogant. It means that you are genuinely interested with the position. So do not undersell yourself, or do not oversell yourself as well, and ask questions that you think are important to you, so that you never ask yourself after interview, wait, I forgot to ask if this or that, right? Remember, if you don't ask, the answer will always be a no, right? So always ask. So just to do a quick recap, start with research, prepare your star stories, do mock interviews, be professional, impress in the first 5 minutes if you can, sell yourself, listen for keywords, and lastly, ask intelligent questions. That's all I have for you today. If you think you have any questions, let me know in the comment section down below. So don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you again on the next episode. Peace.